Once again to Common Sense, the weekly public affairs show brought to you by Berkshire Brigades, the county Democratic organization. I'm Lee Harrison, chairman of Berkshire Brigades, and today we're fortunate to have the senator who has the largest district in the state of Massachusetts, our own Ben Downing. Senator, thanks for coming to the show.
Good to be here as always, Lee.
Hey, it's these are crazy political times.
It is.
But let's talk about. Well, first I'd like to tell the folks what your responsibilities are. I mean, I went to the website. What committees is our senator on? He's chairman of the Joint Committee on Revenue. Big job there. Vice chairman of the Joint Committee on Higher Education. He serves on the Senate Ways and Means Committee, on the Joint Committees of Economic Development and Emerging Technologies, and that title goes on to Consumer Protection and Professional Licensure and Veterans and Federal Affairs. And he's also participates in the legislative caucuses focusing on regional schools, regional transit authorities, and gateway cities. Well, that sounds like a full plate.
It's enough to keep me busy, but it's all interesting work, and I enjoy doing it.
Well, and you do it well. I would just say this guy is the most responsive elected official I've ever met, and I really want to thank you for that. But what's happening now? What's on the docket for the first half of this election year?
Sure.
What are you going to be working on on Beacon Hill?
Yeah, there's a lot of different issues before us right now. I think the number one issue that sort of everyone has before us or on our plates is the fiscal situation in the Commonwealth and how that affects the budget. The budget used to be sort of a 2 or 3 month process, and then it sort of ran itself. You may lobby for grant funds in a competitive pool for a certain priority, but generally the budget was constrained to those several months unless it was a time of job loss and recession. With the severe recession that we've dealt with here, we have seen significant job loss, and that significant job loss has led to significant cutbacks that we've had to make mid-year. So the budget process has become a full year process. So we're still dealing with the fiscal year 2010 budget, and we're starting to craft the fiscal year 2011 budget.
Wow.
In the Senate, we hope in the next couple of weeks to roll out a package focused on job creation by combining some of the many different economic development agencies that we have, both public and quasi-public, and trying to target some of the incentives that we have to create and grow jobs here in the Commonwealth. We have been working, or at least I have been working, both with the Mass Institute for a New Commonwealth and with the Pioneer Institute, sort of birds of each feather.
These are like think tanks?
Think tanks that do a good deal of work. One more sort of center left, one more center right. And they have been working on reports that really focus on just how much of the job creation that happens in the Commonwealth or job loss, it really comes from companies that are already here. We tend to focus on relocation of new firms to the Commonwealth, and while that's important, I think we need to focus more on helping the firms that are here grow, help them find new opportunities in other markets so that they can create jobs and stay here, and we need to deal with things on the cost side.
That would seem to be a more efficient way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's simple, it's straightforward. It's something that unfortunately we haven't done a good enough job of yet, but I think we've got some ideas that we in the Senate are going to roll out over the next couple of weeks on those in those areas.
Other than the general economic problems, I mean, how can you help these companies? What can you do? Why are they hurting? I guess
some are hurting for any number of different reasons. Some are hurting because of generational issues that we haven't dealt with in some time. In particular, the cost of healthcare and the cost of energy. Healthcare obviously has been a hot topic debated at the federal level. Sure. Much of that debate has been framed by some of the things that we've done in Massachusetts, and much as we've done a very good job of getting everyone covered, we haven't done a good enough job of bringing the cost down. So I think that is a step that we're working on right now. We're working on it here in the Berkshires with our own healthcare providers, but we need to do a better job of it on the state level at creating an environment in which we aren't simply rewarding more care, we are rewarding and providing incentives for better care.
Smart care.
Yeah, absolutely. Berkshire Health Systems does an incredible job with their heart failure program, where they have brought in and tracked more closely the patients that are at the greatest risk for heart failure. And by doing so, they have found that they've been able to reduce the expenditure they've had to make on those individual patients by 10 and 15 and 20 and 25%. all through simple things, dietary recommendations, general updates, telehealth. So they have what you and I might think would just be a scale that they stand on at home, but that actually reports blood pressure and other important warning signs back to the hospital, and they know if they should be adjusting medicine. They know if they should be calling that patient and say, you know what, you ought to come in. There's some troubling signs here.
That's a great thing in Berkshire County because of the distances.
Absolutely.
And certainly for older people, and now it's February, travel. So if you can, what'd you call it?
Telehealth.
Telehealth.
And you've seen some of that at our regional visiting nurses associations are starting to use those methods. And it was interesting. I was especially curious about whether or not people would think this was a little bit too much government or someone else in their home. And many of the patients obviously are older patients, and they see it as a convenience.
Absolutely.
Because they know the people who are on the other end of the line. They know that doctor, they know that nurse. So they are happy to be told, hey, we aren't too excited about what we're seeing here. We're going to come up, we're going to stop up, or we need you to come down, and we'll try and rectify the situation.
Also, going to the doctor, you got to drive, you got to get in your car, you wait in the room, and park your car and all that. This is so much more convenient.
And it's difficult within healthcare because when you talk about trying to bring down costs for businesses, I think we've done a good job at providing access to those in greatest need. I think we've done a very good job at providing an environment in which larger businesses can purchase healthcare. Where we have not done a good enough job yet is small businesses. And I know some of my colleagues and I are working on proposals to try and allow those small businesses to group together. So if a Chamber of Commerce wanted to bring together all of the employers under 25 employees or under 50 employees, they could allow them to purchase in a group. Now, there are things you need to do.
Wasn't that, I thought that was doable now.
No, it was doable in Massachusetts up until the mid-90s. It is doable in some states. There were concerns that some of these sort of group plans would discriminate against companies that may have employees that might be costlier to insure. We are working on legislation that would address that concern so that you can't discriminate against employees, so that we can allow those small businesses to come together, realize the savings that come from that group purchasing model, and sort of reform the small business group markets. That's something that we're working on there. So working on healthcare costs, working on energy costs through the Green Communities Act. Governor Patrick and Lieutenant Governor Murray just announced $1.1 billion that they plan to invest over the next 3 years in energy efficiency, which will mean a reduction in $6 billion in utility bills that consumers in Massachusetts will pay, and hopefully...
What will that money go to?
That money will go to incentives and programs to try and get people to be smarter about how they use appliances and energy in their homes, and also to pilot programs to see how we can give people incentives to be more energy efficient and to use and purchase more energy efficient appliances.
Is this like working through CET here in Pittsfield? So there'll be more money there, so the energy auditor will come out and tell you how to do stuff, and then perhaps this low interest funding for doing the kind of work?
Absolutely. It'll be working with CET, it'll be working with Western Mass Electric, N-Grid, and other different providers who want to be involved in this. I mean, we've seen up in Northern Berkshire, at the Northern Berkshire Community Coalition, they have done a great job through different programs of trying to get community members to think about energy costs more often. Simple steps that they can take to reduce energy usage, like unplugging devices, simply turning off lights, taking advantage of rebates that already exist now. But this is on a scale that no other state has done. We were recently ranked as a state second among the 50 states for having the most energy efficient state policies. In other words, we had the policies that promoted energy efficiency at the highest level other than California. And those same raters have said that this most recent announcement could put us ahead of California as well.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, competition's a good thing.
Well, of course, energy efficiency, some people call it conservation. I like the term energy efficiency. Is that's the lowest hanging fruit.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's where the biggest savings